What's up, guys? This is Zack Hample coming to you with a video about the Texas Rangers' soon-to-be new stadium, Globe Life Field. Now, I'm recording this video at home in New York City in January of 2020. This stadium opens in just 2 months at the end of March. And of course, I am super pumped to get there. I always try to do some research ahead of time, try to figure out what the hot spots are gonna be. So this video is primarily about the ball hawking opportunities there. We're gonna be flipping through a whole bunch of images together, both artists' renditions as well as actual construction photos. And of course, I'm just interested in the place architecturally as well, what the design looks like. But yeah, let's just jump right into the images and see what we can see. First things first, I have to acknowledge that my voice probably sounds different right now, and that's because I've recorded this video on 2 different devices. Anyway, there I am, pointing triumphantly at Globe Life Field, the rendition that was posted in the upper deck at Globe Life Park. You can see this was the early construction of the new stadium back in July of 2018. And if we fast forward 14 months, you can see just how quickly it was coming along, the stadium rising up and really starting to take shape. With that, let's move to the artists' renditions outside the new stadium. This is what it's supposed to look like. Very sleek and modern, lots of room for fans to mill about outside, and this is an aerial view. This whole area right here, that's called Texas Live. It's going to be a massive entertainment center with music venues, bars, restaurants, great place to hang out before and after games. Kind of like Ballpark Village in St. Louis across the street from Busch Stadium. You got the football stadium nearby, and this thing right here. Let's talk about this for a second, because global warming and climate change is here to mess up our lives, and it's now too hot to sit outside in the summer and watch a ball game in Texas. So that's the whole reason that this stadium was built, so that they could cover it up and blast everybody with air conditioning. Anyway, let's move inside to this view behind home plate. And the biggest thing I gotta talk about is this area right here, the batter's eye. Let's take a look at what the batter's eye looked like at Globe Life Park, the old stadium. Ready? Oh, the berm, that grassy hill, this area of beauty and glory. Let's take a closer look. Wow, that is a lot of space. And of course, fans were allowed to jump over these side railings, not just during batting practice, but during games. So much fun. It was really playful. It was really chill. Here's one more look at fans spilling out onto the lawn to try to grab a toss-up or a home run. And that's gone. As you can see in the new stadium, there is no more berm. It's just a generic batter's eye, so that is really a shame. Anyway, let's talk about this area right here. These walkways down the lines, the third base side, the first base side. This should be a decent place to get foul balls if you're allowed down there, and if security will even let you stand there if you do have a ticket in this area. Of course, foul balls will fly back into these seats in the second deck, but there's no walkway here. There's really no walkway or cross aisle anywhere in the seats except for this. And it definitely helps, obviously, to have room to move left and right. So keep this in mind. But this to me looks like what I call a moat. And I'll show you some other moats. This is Marlins Park in Miami, an old photo. You can see Giancarlo Stanton up on the Jumbotron back when he was with the Marlins. Here's a moat in Minnesota. You can see an usher is right here, ready to start screaming at people. No, not really. They're pretty chill in Minnesota, but different stadiums handle these walkways close to the field differently. In some places, no matter where your ticket is, you can go down in here before the game, but then they'll kick you out during the game. In some places, you can never get down here, and even if you do have a ticket in this area, you might not be allowed to stand here. Here's another similar walkway at Citi Field in New York where they are very strict. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out at the Rangers' new stadium, but to the extent that you are allowed to hang out in that walkway, definitely take advantage. Here's a look from center field. I love this whole area with the arches. I'm going to show you more photos of that coming up in a bit. Just wanted to give you a quick look at it for right now. So let's keep moving. And you can see the arches again, also from center field, a different angle, lower down. And there's a few things worth mentioning right here. First of all, this second deck overhangs the first deck by not a lot of space. This area, that's not too high. So you're going to have a situation where it's tough to catch home runs because half of them are going to land down here, half of them are going to go up above, and there's not really one hot spot where you're going to have a ton of opportunities. Kind of like Toronto, where you have a second deck that overhangs the first deck, San Diego, something similar in left field. So that will definitely be a challenge. The bullpen out in left center will swallow up baseballs. And will you be able to retrieve those baseballs with your devices? The glove trick, the cup trick, any other homemade gadget that you might come up with. And that's especially important given this area right here. That looks like a gap between the outfield wall and the seats. So what happens when baseballs land there? Or will that even end up being a gap? Is it going to look like this, the right field gap back at Globe Life Park? Or to give you another example, the Centerfield Gap at the stadium formerly known as Safeco, currently known as T-Mobile. When baseballs land in here, whether it's toss-ups or home runs, nobody can get them. So if you have a device and you're in the front row, you lower it on a string and you pick it up. But that area in Texas might end up looking like this, where it's not a space at all, but it's covered up with some planters, some flowers, some grass, whatever. And obviously if a ball lands right here, it's either going to skip up into the seats, or if it stays there, the people are just going to reach over and grab it. So no advantage for you if you have a device. Of course, there are little planters like this. We're looking at the left field corner in St. Louis, Busch Stadium, where there's not really a gap for the ball to fall down into, but if a ball ends up on this ledge, you still could retrieve it with a device. So will the Rangers leave that space empty behind the left field wall? We'll have to wait and find out. And again, how chill will security be? Here's a look from the third base side. And there's a few things, once again, that I want to point out. This whole area of seats looks awfully similar to Minute Maid Park in right field. You have this wide expanse, 4 sections right here. In Minute Maid, it's only 3. But then you have these 2 sections behind the bullpen. So ready for the comparison? This is the Rangers' new ballpark, and this is Minute Maid Park in Houston. That is almost identical. And if we just go back and take another look at this, I believe this will be the best area in the stadium to catch home runs because you don't have a second deck that really overhangs too low. So balls that land 20 rows back probably won't even clip this facade. I think you can play deep here. You'll have to play really deep from home plate here because it's 410 to that corner. And the bullpen is probably, 20 feet wide? So you're talking about a 430-foot shot to reach these seats. Balls might land in the bullpen and then bounce up into the seats. Or again, if they land in the bullpen and trickle toward the back wall, will security let you retrieve them with a device? Well, they did at the old stadium. Hopefully they're still chill at the new stadium, but my prediction is they won't be. And what's going on right here? Is that a seating area? Is this a terrace where people can hang out? It might be that they don't let people hang out there during the game, but you can hang out there in BP, in which case this would be a pretty sweet spot to get toss-ups from the players, so keep that in mind. This whole image is covered with netting, of course, because we're really close to home plate here, so gotta protect the people. But what will the netting look like down the lines? Well, according to this image, you can see that the netting does not go all the way to the foul pole, which is good, and it does not appear to be too high. So if that's how it ends up being, players and coaches can easily toss balls over, but who knows if the artist who drew this had the exact netting plans by that point, or if this was just some generic thing that they tossed in there. Here's a look from center field. This guy right here looks like he's losing his mind for the selfie. And I'm losing my mind over these little rectangular windows embedded into this high slanted wall. What is this area going to be? Is that part of a suite that provides some weird look out at the left fielder? Or is that going to be the groundskeeper's office or some other official area where fans can't go? I can't wait to find out. And here's one last rendition behind home plate with the roof closed. This whole area in here, it looks like it's just blank sky in the background. I don't think these are going to be windows that can open. That would defeat the purpose of having air conditioning when it's 1,000,000 degrees. Milwaukee and Arizona, they can open those back windows, but I think these are just going to be sealed shut with glass. We move along to actual construction photos. Now, this looks like it's going to be your walkway down the lines. And again, over here. So we'll see how that takes shape. And then you got the arches out here. And these arches are really nice. You can't really see them in this image, but check out this one. That really shows you what it's going to look like. And in addition to the beauty, I am also intrigued by this space right here. This is the second deck, and like I said, a lot of home runs are going to land here. I think the longer home runs might reach this walkway. During games, it's not really clear how this area will be used. It could be roped off or chained off as some sort of accessible seating area where people will roll up in their wheelchairs. Or it might just be standing room for anybody in the stadium, in which case you might see a wall of fans, and that could make it tough to run around and catch balls. But in batting practice, I don't know that too many people are going to be crowding this spot. So when a big right-handed power hitter like Miguel Sano, for example, steps up to the cage in BP, you might want to run up to the second deck and camp out back in here. This is a beautiful look of the arches, just looking through the concourse. Interestingly, the arches do not face the field. When you're anywhere else out here in the stadium looking at the arches, you're just going to see the side of this big brick column. So to get the full beauty, you actually need to be in this third deck walking through the concourse. Contrast that with Minute Maid Park, and you can see that their arches in left field actually face out at the stadium. So it's interesting that the two Texas stadiums feature arches in the design in left field, except they're rotated, one facing the field and one not. Here's a look at center field. You can see these 4 rectangular windows down the right field line. You can see those windows down the left field line behind all this clutter. But let's focus on this area behind home plate, because no matter what stadium you're going to, this is where a lot of foul balls are going to go. Let's take a closer look. This is the second deck right in here. This will definitely get some foul balls. You can see that there are railings built into the staircases, not just in the second deck, but even in the lower decks as well, which is unfortunate. I always love it when there are no railings to deal with because it makes it a lot easier to move around. But anyway, you got your suites up here. I think that if you're sitting in this outdoor seating, you might have some foul ball opportunities depending on whether or not this facade overhangs it and swallows up the baseballs. I think you will have baseballs landing up in here as well. This is probably going to be the press box. And to get to these seats right here, you're going to have to walk down this staircase, and then there pretty much has to be a walkway back in here. So chances are you will need a ticket in this area to get down here. I don't think you can have any crappy random seat up in here and still walk down and not be checked. So if you're here, will security let you stand against that back wall? I think there will be balls reaching these spots. So keep that in mind. You can see the side view, how far up that is. Home plate is probably somewhere around, I don't know, maybe here. It's only 42 feet from home plate to the backstop. So I think that is definitely the type of foul ball that is within the realm of possibility. So again, like all these things that I'm pointing out, definitely take advantage if you find yourself in this area. We're getting close to the end. I want to talk very quickly about the dimensions because there's really not that much to say about them. This is pretty standard. Like I just mentioned, only 42 feet behind the plate. Down the foul lines, 329, 326, 374, and 372 to the power alleys. So it's not quite symmetrical, but it's close enough. The one thing that jumps out is that the bullpen in right center actually juts out onto the field. And in left center, the wall actually juts back a little bit at an angle. But in both cases, it's 410 to these corners, 407. That's all pretty standard. It doesn't strike me as particularly favorable to the pitchers or hitters which I think is good. Even though my goal is always to catch home runs, I do think it's kind of a joke in some stadiums where it's too easy to hit them. And the stadiums where it's just like you gotta absolutely crush it to reach the seats, that's kind of a bummer as well. So I give the Rangers credit for designing this in a way that should hopefully play out in a neutral way in terms of the long balls. You can see from this view right up above, the second deck, it's really hanging over that first deck. Not a lot of room there for home runs to land. Right field, you do have all that space. So this is definitely the spot for BP. Left field, not so much. Finally, we have a really fun photo of the Rangers taking batting practice on the field. They got the chalk lines painted on, little home plate, the L screen, bag of balls. Looks like a great time. And I'm just so curious to know where those balls actually landed. I think this stadium is really sharp with its design. It looks like this might be, again, similar to Minute Maid Park, where you have some balconies up in here. You'll have a staircase where you can walk up, standing room. Maybe they'll have some kind of concession stands back there. So it's looking good, but catching baseballs will definitely be a much bigger challenge at the new stadium than the old one. I know that a lot of the things I've said in this video, it's like, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But I guarantee you this place is going to be a pain for catching balls. And that wraps up our tour of Globe Life Field. I wish the Rangers had invited me to that preliminary BP session, you know? Would have been so cool to be running around the half-constructed seats in the outfield trying to catch home run balls. But like I said at the start of this video, I'm gonna have my chance there soon enough. March 31st, that is the first official game, the inaugural game, the Rangers home opener against the Angels, and it is my plan to be there. As of this moment, I have not yet booked my flights, but I predict I will be in the house. And if anybody else watching this will also be there that day, leave a comment, let me know, maybe we'll connect. And I just gotta say, you know, despite how tricky I think this stadium will be for catching baseballs, I am really pumped to be there. Rangers fans, this is for you right here, baby. Let's go. Let's do this. Globe Life Field is going to be the 58th different Major League stadium that I've ever been to, and I'm hoping to push that number to 60 by the end of the 2020 season. I am planning to be at the MLB Mexico Series in Mexico City in April. And then a few months later, in the middle of the summer in Iowa, you got that Field of Dreams game, the Yankees versus the White Sox. I have no idea how tickets are going to work for that, but I hope/assume that I'll find my way in. So lots of cool stuff coming up this season, lots of videos once again for you guys. So stay tuned for all this stuff. And as for this one, I hope it was fun. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was interesting. And just a big thank you to all you guys for watching.